CPD's communications intern and your host for this session. Tonight, the debate is divided into two sessions. The opening session happening right now and the debate proper. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, few months ago, Gambians on social media, Facebook to be precise, asked the Commission on Political Debates to organize the first GFF presidential debate. Few days later, the CPD accepted the invitation and invited few stakeholders in sports and in media to see how best to have this day. Ladies and gentlemen, the rest is history. My task tonight is very simple. I am just here to guide the session, so I will not bore you with much talk, but I'll invite the speakers. But before then, I would like to seize this opportunity to thank our sponsors and media partners for their unending support. This program wouldn't have happened without their support. Moving forward, I will invite the Executive Director of Commission on Political Debates, Mr. Bakari Fati, to give the welcome remark. You're welcome.
Thank you, Jedaba. Board Chair of the Commission on Political Debate, Madam Hannah Foster, the representative of the Minister of Youth and Sports, Bakari Baji, who is currently in Turkey. He would have loved to be here, but unfortunately, due to official visit. The country director of the National Democratic Institute, Mr. Atan Alijaj, the executive director of the National Youth Council, Alijaju, voting delegates of the Gambia Football Federation, partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor to welcome you all to the first ever presidential debate organized by the Commission on Political Debate between contesting candidates of the Gambia Football Federation. As the chair rightly mentioned, sometime last month, some sport-loving individuals reached out to the Commission on Political Debate to organize a debate between Mr. Lamin Kaba, who is the incumbent president of the Gambia Football Federation, and Mr. Sadibu Kamaso, who is a former executive member of the GFF. After a series of consultation with different relevant stakeholders in the field of sports and football in particular, we have resolved to stage this historic event as an organization. Historic in the sense that in its 70-year plus of existence, there has never been in the past where a debate like this one was organized between or among candidates opting for any contested position or elected offices of the Gambia Football Federation. So as an organization, we take pride in championing such a cause at a time when not only people who love sports are interested in Gambia Football Federation presidential elections, but even some of us who are fanatics when it comes to mainstream politics. Ladies and gentlemen, previously, our focus as an organization has only been on mainstream politics. And that culture was first cultivated in 2016 when we organized the first presidential debate between Khalifa Saleh on behalf of Adama Barrow, who was actually representing the coalition parties of the 2016 president's election, and Modu Kah, who was representing Mama Kande of GDC. The 2016 presidential debate gave birth to subsequent debates, including the 2017 National Assembly election debate, the 2018 mayoral election debate, the 2021 presidential debate, and the recently concluded 2020 National Assembly debate. And I must emphasize that the 2021 presidential debate, which we partnered with the National Democratic Institute, was the first debate where presidential candidates represented themselves. The previous ones, they were represented by their spokespersons. About our tonight's debate, I wish to stress that both Mr. Lamin Kababajo and Sadibu Kamaso were written to approximately 1 month before to participate in this historic event. We engaged both teams to share with them the debate rules, the code of conduct, the thematic areas of the debate. Until now, the only candidate that signed the code of conduct and expressed interest to participate in this debate is Mr. Sariu Kamaso. However, as debate organizers, we're still hopeful that Mr. Kaba might have a change of heart and come to tonight's debate. And I can assure Mr. Kaba and his team that he would be allowed to participate in this debate even if it is 1 minute before the debate starts. As part of our efforts to bring these two individuals on the same platform, we went as far as inviting the 77 voting delegates whose voices matter a lot when it comes to Gambia Football Federation because they are the deciding factor. A few of the delegates also said that they wouldn't attend the debate if Mr. Kababajo does not honor the invitation to participate. Even though that's not what we anticipate as debate organizers, and also considering the overwhelming interest of Gambians, the overwhelming interest Gambians built in this year's Gambia Football Federation election, it would be an error of judgment for a delegate not to attend this debate because of the reason mentioned above. As one of our football commentators said, the entire nation's weight is on your shoulders. As you are also about to have your Congress, I want to personally appeal to you to include debate as part of your constitution. Why? Because this will go a long way in promoting good governance, accountability, and transparency in the GFF. Furthermore, even though we are the organizers of tonight's debate, we also have limitations in terms of questions. We have little or no say on questions to be asked by the moderator. The debate, the debate, the debate, the debate moderator is actually the one who single-handedly picked the questions from the thematic areas given to him by the Commission on Political Debate. And we have no say or which sort of questions must be asked tonight. We also want to assure the public that the moderator was not handpicked or imposed on the Commission on Political Debates by any individual or sponsor. After receiving several individual names as potential candidates to moderate the debate, the Commission on Political Debates went through a vetting process. Of all the names received, Mr. Ronald Senghor was selected as per our set criteria, which is identical to our previous debate moderator selection processes. We know that the culture of political debate is somewhat new in the political landscape of the Gambia, especially in the area of sports. And this is because due to the lack of programmatic policies or agenda from candidates who who often focus on individual personality, religion, or tribe, so on. Sometimes clientelistic behavior. So they increasingly focus on forget about issues that matter to the electorate or the people that are relevant stakeholders in this sector. And those are the areas that we've identified in the thematic areas. Therefore, the Commission on Political Debate will continue to organize political debate and dialogue between and among candidates in order to promote and strengthen a healthy and inclusive democracy, transparency, accountability in sports. In conclusion, I wish to seize this opportunity to thank the team, my team at the Commission on Political Debates, and also to thank a special thank to Mr. Haruna Drame and his team of Paradise TV, Mr. Babukar Sengol of GRTS, and Babukar Jalo. I'm not sure Babukar is with us, but I also want to thank him for their invaluable contribution towards tonight's debate. A special thank also goes to our incredible partners, namely the government of the Gambia through the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Official Limited, iNet, Paradise TV, GRTS, Block TV, iAfrica, Star TV, the Fatu Network, Television, Gambian Talents TV, Standard Newspaper, Paradise FM Radio, Afri Radio, and Bori Media. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope that you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bakari Fati. Moving forward, I would call on the CPD board chairperson, Hannah Foster, to give a statement. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson of the event. I'm very pleased to be here, and on behalf of the board of CPD, I would like to thank each one of you for being here and to assure you that we are all looking forward to a very eventful evening. Honorable Bakari Baji, Minister of Youth and Sports of the Gambia, our partner from NDI, country chairperson, Anand Al-Jaj. I'm sorry if I've not pronounced it properly, but you are most welcome. It doesn't take away anything from our warm welcome to you to the Gambia and to this particular event. I'd like to also acknowledge the confidence expressed in asking CPD to organize this event. As we all know, in the past few years, from 2016, 2017, CPD has been involved in organizing debates. And I'm sure we all know that in mainstream politics, we have not, as Gambians, been involved in ensuring that we have issue-based discussions on our plans or what it is that we are preparing for the Gambian people. And I hasten to say that this particular culture is being nurtured by CPD, and we hope that this historic event will be followed by many other events because we do know that good governance, as my colleague has said, it is very important that people know what plans you have, what your agenda is, and how you want to make a difference in the institution that you want people to vote for you to represent. It is a bit difficult if you ask us, because we have seen a culture of abuse, a culture of everybody pointing at others and forgetting that we are all to be blamed. And this particular trend is very encouraging, because we know that each and every candidate will definitely take extra effort to make sure that they comply, that any promises that they commit themselves to, we will expect that they will keep those promises. I would like to also ensure that CPD is indeed committed to ensure that these debates, this series of debates, are held in an atmosphere that would boost confidence in the moderator, as well as others who would be working closely with CPD to ensure that these debates are held and in a position to provide the voters with the relevant information to make informed decisions as to who would best fulfill their aspirations for those positions. I do not want to be long, but then allow me to also add my voice to that of Bakari, to thank partners and stakeholders, and to also solicit your support for CPD. As the executive director had rightly said, yes, there are a lot of things that we want to engage in, but we are also challenged. So we hope that as time goes on, we will have some of us here who are interested in seeing issue-based campaigning and debates coming forward and talking to the executive director to see how best they can support us in this endeavor. So without wasting any more time, I'd like to thank each and every one of you once more and to say enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Finally, moving on to Honorable Bakari Baji, Minister of Youth and Sports, who would be giving his statement on video.
Hello, good evening. Just want to extend my greetings to all of you that are attending the 2022 Gambia Football Federation elections debate. Whoever is there, and all the leadership of the Gambia Commission on Political Debate, and Haruna Drame, and all the other media partners that are there, and of course to the candidates who are vying for the president of the elections, and the delegates who are in attendance in this very important debate. A few months ago, or a month and a half ago, I had visitors in the office who came from the Gambia Commission on Political Debate, accompanied by Mr. Drame, and their idea was to have a debate for the first time in our history, due to the fact that the Gambian population has developed so much interest in the 2022 Gambia Football Federation elections. And for that reason, they thought it wise to answer to the call of the public to organize a debate between the two candidates. And upon discussion, we, as a ministry, didn't hesitate to give our endorsement to it, because we understand that it's important for people not just to go and vote, but to have the opportunity to present, to listen to their candidates present their ideas, and then they can be able to make a choice. And of course, we know that some of you have already made your choices. Maybe some of you haven't made up your choices, but this platform would be an opportunity to be able to make an informed decision and a final decision for that matter. Now, why is it important that we promote debate? It's because we now understand that in the new dispensation, the government have promoted the free participation of people in political discussion, as well as in the governance system. And also, the Gambia Football Federation is a private sector organization consisting of their stakeholders, but they are there on behalf of the Gambian people. All the things they do is on behalf of the people of the Gambia. And yes, it is just about 77 people who are going to vote. But those 77 people, small as it might be, represent the entire country. And we all understand that our football has gone to a level that it has attracted so much interest, both the Gambians at home and Gambians abroad. And so this debate will be an opportunity for the candidates to come and tell the Gambian people what they have in stock when they are elected for the next 4 years. So I hope that it will be seen as a platform for debate and not a platform to castigate each other. It will be a platform for candidates to share their ideas and present a roadmap as to how they want to collaborate with other stakeholders to develop football. As a ministry, we have taken a neutral position on the elections of the GFF because we understand that in the end, our interest is to ensure that the stakeholders do the right thing, vote in a person that they believe would be able to run their affairs in a more transparent way, in a way that will develop our football and football across the country, not just in one area, but all the other areas. But there is more towards that. Government is a key collaborator of the Gambia Football Federation, and we want to ensure that transparency occurs in everything that the Gambia Football Federation do. But of course, like I said, the choice is yours. You know who among the candidates is best based on experiences or based on your interactions with them or based on what they tell you they can do. But this political platform would be a better opportunity for them to present their candidate. So on that note, I also want to wish all of you who are present a very successful debate, and again, encourage all of you to be listening attentively and make your choices after the debate today. On behalf of the ministry and the government by extension, we just want to wish you a very successful debate and, of course, a very transparent, free and fair elections for the Gambia Football Federation to elect people that are going to steer the affairs of the federation for the coming 4 years. Thank you very much and good night, all of you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This marks the end of the opening session and, of course, the end of my task on stage. But before I go, I want to add my own thanks to the thank that Bakari and Adi Botia made on our partners. Honorable Bakari Baji, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Afrisal Gambia, INET, of course, the able Mr. Haruna Drame, and Paradise TV, Paradise FM, GRTS, Block TV, iAfrica TV, GTV, Star TV, Star FM, the Fatu Network, Standard Newspaper, Afri Radio, and Body Media. Now I will pass the mic on to Mr. Haruna Drame to continue with the rest of the session. You're welcome.
I'm not sure I'm going to be thanking anyone, but good evening. We are glad you're here, and it shows the commitment that you have for Gambian football. I must say from the onset, I have never kicked a football in my entire life, not even four corners. I have never watched 90 minutes of a football game my entire adult life. So when CPD spoke to me about organizing a debate for football, I wondered where we were going to begin. But it was easy because they knew what they wanted exactly, and we had a team that was committed to making this happen. So I want to say thank you to CPD for the foresight, but also for the game changing, because you were known from mainstream politics. But as we discussed in many of our radio talk shows over the last few days, it's public office, and so it's public interest. So it's about time that debates will be respected as a medium to exchange ideas and opinions, and for voters, and in this case, delegates, to make up their mind about who to actually vote for. So I have not been tasked to give a speech here, but we journalists are like teachers. Once we hold a microphone, we don't know how to let go. So let me do the task why I'm here. The moderator of this evening's debate holds a position of Marketing and Communications Manager at Africell Gambia Limited. He manages a diverse team that plans and implements marketing and public relation programs to increase subscriber growth and, of course, retention. He is co-opted board member of the Gambia YMCA and an executive committee member at the African Alliance of YMCAs and the World Alliance of YMCAs. He is also the Deputy Executive Director of Black Magic and the Managing Director at Blueberry Consultancies. Ronald is a huge fan of Gambian football. He never misses a match when the national teams compete, and he frequently attends games of the National Football League at the stadium. Mr. Senghor is a very experienced TV and radio host and a very popular face on TV and voice on radio. He hosts one of the most popular radio shows on Afri Radio, dubbed the 2022 Show, every Saturday. He enjoys watching and playing football, unlike me, enjoys movies and doing volunteer work. Ladies and gentlemen, your moderator for this evening, Mr. Ronald Senghor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harun Adrami, CEO of Paradise TV and Paradise FM. A warm good evening to all members of the press, delegates, audience from online and on radio. My name is Ronald Senghor. Welcome to the first official 2022 GFF presidential debate. We are making history together. This is the first time this is happening on the soil of the Gambia. Thank you very much for joining us. Once again, my name is Ronald Senghor. I want to welcome all of you into the hall and online. We have a set of rules that we'll be following to ensure that the debate goes on smoothly without interruption. The set of rules are as follows. The debate shall be 1 hour, 30 minutes. The debate will be on 5 thematic areas, which are league standardization, growth of women's football, and regional football plans. 2, financial stability, independence, and FIFA funds. 3, ex-players engagement and management. 4, good governance and transparency. And 5, football pitches, infrastructure, projects, and management. These are the 5 thematic areas in which the presidential aspirants will have questions asked. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me the pleasure to invite Mr. Sadibu Kamaso of Team Restore Confidence onto the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only time you have to put your hands together and clap. So kindly do so. As I continue reading all the rules and regulations. Any questions relating to those areas will be allowed as being relevant. Roughly equal time will be accorded to each of the thematic areas. The debate period shall include specific breaks of 5 minutes duration. There may also be tops and trail breaks. The debate will be conducted by one moderator and guided by the instructions of the producer. The countdown of time to make opening or closing remarks To answer each question or make rebuttals will be displayed for each debater to see via a clock position for easy visibility. The moderator will have the latitude to raise questions for clarification. The response to these follow-up questions must not be longer than 45 seconds. Debaters are not permitted to ask questions of the moderator except in rhetorical manner. However, if they do not understand the question, they may ask for it to be repeated. All questions are to be asked by the moderator. However, an accommodation is also to be made for candidates to review the statements of other candidates. Each candidate has one opportunity to do so in each round. A rebuttal must be completed in no other than 1 minute. Each debater will be granted time at the beginning of the debate to make 2-minute long opening statements. At the end of the debate, they will also be granted a similar length of time for closing remarks. The opening remarks will be presented in a formal of alphabetical order based on the surnames of the candidates, while the closing remarks will be presented in reverse alphabetical order. There will be no scope for rebuttals of the candidates' opening or closing statements by their opponents, nor will the moderator be able to request clarifications, etc. The moderator may also interject if the candidate's opening or closing remarks extend beyond the allocated time, or if the remarks are deemed to violate the candidate's code of conduct. All debaters will be asked to respond to the same question in each round of the question. The moderator who asks this question can pose a follow-up question to the debater if he or her opinion clarification is required. Questions will be directed at all the candidates in alphabetical order determined by the surnames of the debaters. Each successive round of questions will begin with the candidate in the sequence. After the opening remarks, the debaters will face each round of questions in order which they made in the opening remarks. Debaters will have maximum of 90 seconds to answer the post question. Each debater will be allowed a maximum of 45 to rebut the responses given by other debaters directed at him or her. After each debate in that round has responded to the initial question and to follow-up questions or requests for clarification from the moderator, each debater will be asked in the same alphabetical order whether they have any rebuttals to offer regarding the responses from the other debaters. They will each have 45 seconds to offer their rebuttals. At the end of each round of questions, the new set of questions will be posed to the next person in the sequence. Thus, candidate A will be the first to answer question 1, while candidate B will be the last to answer. In the next sequence, candidate B will be the first to answer question 2 and candidate A the last, while the third question will be posed to candidate A and last posed to candidate B, etc. Debaters, if they choose to do so, may combine their answers with rebuttals within the time given to them to respond 90 seconds, as long as they respond to the question before delivering a rebuttal of a previous debater. Time limits will be strictly observed. Timing mechanisms will be visible. Participants, the screen is right there in front of you. Participants will indicate time left for each response. Candidates will exceed the allocation will cautiously be firmly interrupted by the moderator, which is me. Debaters are to refer to their opponents cautiously by name. The debaters are expected to acknowledge their opponents ahead of the debate itself, elbows or bum handshakes, and at the end of the debate. Debaters will be asked to stand for the duration of the debate. Stools will be provided so that they may sit during the breaks if they wish to do so. Thank you very much. Mr. Kamaso is out here to hear the debate rules. It was supposed to be read in his absence, but as of the time of this debate, Mr. Lamin Kaba Bajo has declined the invitation of the Commission on Political Debates. Right now, as we get into the debate proper, we would love to invite Mr. Kamaso for his opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Senghor. Good evening, distinguished stakeholders, fellow Gambians. I am incredibly optimistic about the future of Gambian football. I believe most Gambians by now understand that our football has faced unprecedented crises over the past 4 years. And it only takes a committed leader to be able to turn things around. And I am that leader. Imagine those young kids, both in urban and rural Gambia, whose dreams are to play football, and yet they struggle to have even a ball. They'll have to stuff clothing in a football just to play. Or two kids sharing a pair of shoes with one wearing the left whilst the other wear the right. and yet they still lack the platform to be able to showcase their talent to become professionals. Imagine our female who struggle to play under that scorching heat. Imagine the infrastructure of Gambian football that is so dilapidated that we cannot take our football forward. The time is now for somebody to come forward and take our football to the next level. We are committed to bring that to Gambians because as patriotic citizens, it is our moral duty to ensure that we rid our football of delinquency and take it to the next level. The time is now for football to move in the right direction. Otherwise, we would be going in the wrong direction and our football would not proceed. I am that candidate who can turn things around for Gambian football. I am the future, and I'm here to tell you we are ready to turn Gambian football around.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sadabo Kamaso. Just to remind everyone, this debate will be conducted in English, but you have the liberty to speak any local language of your choice as you deem fit. Now we move into the debate proper, looking at the thematic areas. The first thematic area is league standardization, growth of women's football, and regional football plans. Your first question, Mr. Kamaso, is the current GFF league is a substandard league in comparison to other leagues across Africa. The Gambia has now proven itself to be a powerhouse in African football. What are your plans of standardizing the Gambian league to be in par with other leagues across Africa? In 90 seconds.
First of all, we need to give our league a professional outlook. That would be the apex body of our league. Because up until now, our league is not attractive, it is not lucrative. It is the idea that Team Restore Confidence have, and it is our objective that we should transform our football and make it marketable. Turn things around and make it a professional league whereby we can get players who earn minimum wages, because most of these players are playing football and do not get the basic salaries that they can even take home. We intend to bring the rules and regulations that we will set together with these clubs, make a declaration that we want to transform our football today, make it a professional league, and have all the clubs sit down whilst we do the rules and regulations which would differ from what we have in the professional league and what we have in the first division. That way, all the rules and regulations that are going to be done will be done holistically, knowing full well that we are trying to transform our football so players who are the most important people in this game can be able to earn a decent living rather than taking the perilous backway journey going to Europe because they've lacked the trust and confidence in our football. You would be surprised that a club of almost 90 people have gone through the backway journey because they've lost confidence in our football. And that is because the league doesn't show anything that they can earn a decent salary. We will transform our football and make it professional.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. Your second question on the league standardization, growth of women's football and regional plans. The requirements of standardizing the league requires a lot of funding, both on the side of the Football Federation and the clubs. Taking the current dispensation into play, how will a Kamaso-led executive ensure that all the requirements are met and the clubs are financially viable to adhere to the standardization requirements in 90 seconds?
Let it be known that there are funds from FIFA to support each and every program that any member association that wants to involve in. FIFA has funds allocated for you, and you can tap into those funds so long as the project is viable. We want to standardize the league to ensure that whether it's the coaches, the players, the medics, the administrators, whoever it is, gets a decent salary. Together with them, we will ensure we have 3 different leagues. That is the professional, the first, and the second. Because the third division leagues are under the regional football associations. But standards must be created that will ensure that people know this is a profession. It is not just a game that people just go and enjoy. The transformation process would be something that will be taken back to the stakeholders in order to develop the rules, the regulations, to ensure they happen. And this is extended to the female league, which has for far too long suffered because they will play their matches in areas that people don't even go to watch or play their matches at 3 p.m. For us to make these marketable, we have to have standards. We have to ensure that our league has a fixed timetable that investors would be willing to spend in their resources. We have to establish rules and regulations of ownership of these clubs for people to understand how clubs are owned, how clubs are run, how clubs are governed. That way people will be interested in putting their resources into our football to move it forward. Because we've been amateur since 1952, and you cannot be doing the same thing all the time and expect different results. So it's about time that we change this.
Mr. Kamaso, in 2018, you ran the campaign of Mr. Lamin Kaba Bajo with the promise to set up an elite professional league. In 2020, you were part of a delegation that went on a study tour on league standardization in Morocco. 4 years down the line, the Gambia League is still substandard. If you are voted into office, why should the stakeholders believe that a Kamaso-led executive will standardize the league now in 45 seconds?
Actually, one of the reasons why I even came out is because of the failed promises. I do not expect to be asked to go and sell an agenda or sell an idea that is not fulfilled. That is one of the reasons that has even in fact gotten me to the position where I am today. I know it is doable. We can transform our league, and we should transform our league today. Because if we do not transform our league, our players and the clubs are going to continue to suffer. The recent game that the team played and lost in the CAF Chan tournament clearly shows that our league is substandard and has to change now. So we have the rules and regulations there that we will share with all the clubs and start working on it now, get funding from FIFA to make sure this works, because there are other European associations like UEFA who are ready to support, and we will be willing to do that and start that right now.
Thank you, Mr. Kamaso. Women's football is as important as men's football. We have seen FIFA invest a lot of money in popularizing women's football across the world. In the Gambia, we've seen female leagues games canceled due to avoidable reasons. And when the games are played, they are played in locations that rarely have attendance and at odd hours. If you win this election, what assurances can you give the stakeholders of women's football that it will receive the recognition, support, and finances required to properly manage and run it? In 90 seconds.
The future of football is women. And that is the reason why Team Restore Confidence, for the first time in the history of the Gambia, is bringing a female vice president. That is our idea. We're going to increase the participation of women. We've also advocated for women football clubs to have the same rights as voting when it comes to the General Assembly, because for far too long, their votes have been confined within just 3 votes of the Women's Football Association. And yet, they still cannot run the affairs of their association. We are giving them the opportunity to be able to come to the General Assembly at the decision-making table, where they will be part of us. FIFA already has a lot of funding for women's football, as I was saying. There's a lot of funding for coaches training, mentorship, women's football development, which are separate from the FIFA funds. It is about writing the necessary programs, the right programs, and giving this to FIFA so that they can give us the funds. If you look at the COVID period, there was $500,000 specifically sent for women's football. Some of the funds that was even allocated to women's football was not even spent on it. We are going to ensure these things happen, and that is why we're bringing a female vice president who sits at the highest decision-making table to be able to advance and advocate for women's rights, advocate for women's football rights. And we are even going to invite other prominent women in this country so that they can come and help us mentor these women and build their capacities. So it is not just a situation where the men would continue to dominate and the women don't. They will play their league matches at the same place and time as the men.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. We've seen a lot of young talents emerge from the regions. How will the Kamaso-led Football Federation ensure that age adjustment will be an issue of the past, taking into consideration that we have suffered national humiliation due to this fraud? An example will be in 2018 with Kaba as president and Mr. Kamaso, you as team manager of the Under-17, where 7 players were disqualified from the WAFU Under-17 qualifiers for failing a certified MRI test. How will you ensure that the regions and the clubs provide players that are within the age gap and represent this country without falling for an age fraud?
The lack of structures in grassroots football is the cause of all the problem. And Team Restore Confidence has promised that we are going to set regulations and we will regularize grassroots football at that level, wherein all young children that are in each and every academy will be registered on a digital platform with their birth certificates and their child infant welfare cards. to ensure that the actual dates of births are registered. The problems we faced in 2018 were as a result of the lack of the proper structures. You cannot have a good high school and a good university when the nursery and the primary are terrible. We are going to ensure that we adopt a bottom-top approach, start working from the grassroots, because the academies and the third divisions are under the regional football associations who, for far too long, have suffered to even get their funds. And even when they do, they get them in piecemeal. This is what we are going to change, because we are going to empower the regional football associations and ensure that all academies are registered. And there's a clear player pathway from the grassroots to the senior level, because that is something that is lacking here. There's no under 15, there's no under 13. If private institutions like Q City can do that and organize their own grassroots tournament, I wonder why the GFF couldn't do that. Because since I came in to the GFF as an executive member, nothing of that sort has ever happened. So we will ensure the grassroots is regularized with such a platform where all the kids that are in academies are registered in their regional football associations, and then their registrations are put on a platform. This will help protect the academies who have these kids so that they can claim training compensation and solidarity compensation. This age cheating issue will become a thing of the past.
Mr. Sadibu, please, no clapping, no clapping, no clapping. You only had one chance to clap was when Mr. Sadibu was walking up the stage. Please let us maintain silence as we proceed. Mr. Kamaso, a very quick follow-up question. How will a Kamaso-led football federation ensure that the regions receive the necessary support they require to run their leagues?
The regions are the main structures of the Gambia Football Federation, because they run the academies, they run the third division, and that is where these players graduate from to come to the senior level. If it is bad at that level, you do not expect anything better. That is why we're having all these age cheating issues and all these issues of player transfers being so cumbersome. The regions are going to be funded, because we are giving each region $1 million and a brand new pickup so that they can tour everything that is in that region. And there's going to be a monitoring and evaluation unit in the Gambia Football Federation that ensure their programs are monitored and evaluated. And then the right funding is given to them with people following up. And that is why we're bringing the third vice president who comes all the way from URR to ensure this is enforced.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. That brings us to the end of the first thematic area, which was on league standardization, growth of women's football, and regional football plans. We now move to the second thematic area, and your first question is: a total of $11,445,000, which is in Gambian Dalasi $549,360,000 is the total amount FIFA has committed to the Gambia. Of this amount, FIFA has approved 9,529,934, which is 457,436,832 from 2016 to date. The cost in dollars is actually calculated with the dollar pegged at 48. Currently, the Gambia Football Federation has an outstanding balance of $1,415,066, which is $67,875,168 in the FIFA coffers. Therefore, you can agree with me that this is a substantial amount that, if properly managed, can keep Gambia's football afloat. How will a Kamaso-led football federation ensure that these sums of cash are properly managed and accounted for in the management and administration of Gambian football in 90 seconds?
First of all, I must admit that it is a shame that that much money has been spent on Gambian football and there's little to show for it. That's why I said I am the future. I am a businessman. And around me, I have people who understand how projects are run. In the first case, these projects were assigned to an individual who has no understanding of projects. And it's about time we start handing over these projects to individuals who know them. If other countries like Cape Verde, Senegal, Liberia, Sierra Leone are using their project funds the right way, we should be able to do that. And as we go into office, we are going to ensure that no contractor is given funds to run GFF projects and goes away without fulfilling those contracts. What we will do, we will ensure that monies meant for football are spent on football. Monies meant for projects are not siphoned into any other area other than football. We are accountable to the people, and we must ensure this is done to the latter. What Team Restore Confidence would do would be all the statement of approvals that we gain from FIFA will have somebody who monitors and evaluates these projects. Because we are going to create a legal department who ensures all the documents that are signed are legally binding between the GFF and the contractors. And in so doing, all parties must ensure they play their part as per the contract that is assigned. FIFA has given a lot of funding for us to run our football, and we should be able to do that. By now, the Gambia should have had a pitch that the GFF owns, not rely on government, because a lot of millions have been plowed into this, and Gambians cannot even see where it is, and GFF should come out to explain that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. The second question is, in order to be financially stable, the Football Federation will need to attract sponsors and partners. How will the Kamaso-led executive ensure that the Football Federation attracts sponsors and maintain financial stability and accountability in 90 seconds?
First of all, restore confidence. If people do not trust you, they do not invest in you. People must trust you to invest in you. You should be accountable to the people. We are going to ensure there's a business arm of the GFF. The football hotel that the GFF has not been audited for over 4 years. That is inexcusable and not something that anybody would want to hear. We are going to ensure the business arm of Football Federation starts plowing money into the football. You will all agree with me that jersey sales are one area that every club or member association makes money from. Since the AFCON up to date, people struggle to get jerseys that they can buy. The jerseys are costing about 1,200, and yet there are no jerseys in town. As a businessman, we would ensure jerseys are all over the place so people can buy them, because that is one area that will help the GFF make money. We will establish a business arm for the Gambia Football Federation that will bring in resources for GFF and not rely on FIFA. Other countries who are all succeeding are not heavily reliant on FIFA. For Senegal, for instance, is using part of their COVID money to train stewards. So if we can have business arms and bring in programs and ideas that can help us sustain ourselves financially, we will do that. Gate takings. I don't ever remember the GFF coming out to tell the public how much they've made. And this is where they can support clubs. So that is also another area that the Team Restore Confidence will look at to ensure that funds that are meant for us.
Mr. Kamaso, just a follow-up question. It has been on the lips of Gambians that you have served in this executive. You have sat on very important committees. You have as well represented the incumbent, Mr. Lamin Kaba on numerous occasions. Why did Mr. Kamaso not make these changes? Why did Mr. Kamaso wait till now? That now he's speaking of these financial situations. Why did he not remedy it when he was part of the executive in 45 seconds?
The beauty of democracy is when people are voted into office, it is votes that can take them out. This is the time for me to come out and ask for votes. I was there. I was the one person that would raise the red flag. People keep saying I was there. The likes of Honorable Halifa Saleh have served this country, and they've been in the National Assembly as majority leaders. It doesn't mean they cannot contest for presidency. Nobody said, oh, you were in the National Assembly, why are you contesting now? So if people attribute that to my coming out now to say I shouldn't come out now, I think that is something people should carefully look at. I believe he was voted into office, and it is votes that can take him out. I can assure Gambians that when I was there, I have helped to save the Gambia a lot of resources by raising the red flag on a number of issues, because I was there to represent people, and that is what I did. It is votes that got him in, and it is votes that can get him out, and that is why I'm standing in front of people here to ask them for their votes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. Your next question on this thematic area, which is on financial stability, independence, and FIFA funds is, it is an open secret that the government is the main custodian of the national football teams. Wherein the government fails to uphold its end of the line, how can the Football Federation under Kamaso's leadership ensure that our national teams are catered for? In 90 seconds.
I'm sure it is evident to everybody that government has spent over 150 million for the CAF qualifiers, and another 90 million before we went to AFCON, and an extra 25 million. That alone shows government's committed. As I said, if they do not trust you, they do not invest in you. You must show things that would ensure government trust you to invest in you. What Team Restore Confidence is going to do is to ensure that there's a stable relationship between government and the GFF. We should be able to show them our books of accounts so they understand where these fundings are coming. Telling people that GFF cannot be audited by government or FIFA doesn't allow that is something that I don't take, because we should be as transparent as possible so government understands. What Team Restore Confidence would do is to ensure, as I said, to restore confidence and gain government's confidence. FIFA also provides a lot of fund for this. Aside of the monies that are provided for forward, there's 200,000 for equipment solidarity. There's another 200,000 for travel solidarity. What is stopping us from getting sponsors? The likes of Africell, the likes of Central Bank, all came in when we were going to AFCON, because the government came in and they had the belief and trust in the process because they've seen government officials around. So if we can see that, we will also ensure that that trust and confidence that they've had in the NCC to invest in them so that the national team can go and play in Cameroon, we would bring in that same atmosphere so that we have the trust and confidence of the people, the government, and FIFA to give us more money so we can take this on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. The final question on this thematic area is, the Gambia Football Federation relies a lot on the subvention from FIFA. How can a Kamaso-led football federation assure the stakeholders of financial independence if or when the funds from FIFA stop coming in 45 seconds?
The FIFA funds are not going to be something that might stop now, because every candidate that is looking for positions will offer you. But we are still looking to establish a business arm of the federation, as I said. The football hotel is there. This should be manned by an independent body that are giving tasks and targets to bring us funding. Replica jersey sales. We have the different GFF products that we can sell to attract sponsors. We have all the different national team categories that we can sell. We have our parks. So these are all areas that we should look in. We will bring in a viable business program, a viable business venture that we can sell out to people who would be willing to spend their monies on it, on even the National League. Give it that prominence and make it lucrative so people can believe in and invest in their resources.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. That brings us to the end of the second thematic area on financial stability, independence, and the FIFA funds. At this juncture, we'll be going for a short commercial break to look at our sponsors. Keep on watching and don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonic's money transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonic's money transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
Ngekonta abaraka membe kerim babu wolom akakenu nyameng niko akakenu nyameng nunto adol be nyaadile parce que niamoy ko ado nen ciosano ka hadama dingol signify ite mu jumale ite bota jumalle bala wol fanal bota jumalle fanal bala
ñu na lan dekkil sa ada ak sa ciosan akakenu nyameng num na amé dem
babu ko ne dinni ngo jibe e ko akalon ko yemmen fo
xama sa ada sa ciosan motax Gambian Talent TV ak Ibu ak Bab ñu toog ñu ne il faut ñu dunda suñ adas ak suñ cosaan
tuntu alfal kela dimbayali ke kuluno nyaadile ke kulu nyaadile fo butero lom bang fodum e ka dumoro le dila bang fo ka mum fel le dila ñim programme le biwo be sene andi la
kon kenn ku nekk boo buggee xam sa adas suñ cosaan fu nga bàyyeekoo sama fu nga bàyyeekoo
nunto alfalu ila sunkurundi wole ke pare nyaadile ila dum fengol fanal be nyaadile ko mum dum fen sifal le fanal dum ñim programme le fanal be witandila
nee naa leen ku wàcc sa ànd boo dem nga fekk foofu
tel dindi mankaje ke balka julo city yiro balay ka fa finja julo ga ko be siring e be kuma jijala kumol bitay do tarikol fula dindi woli
lu doon am demba lu tax amatu tey la moo tax topp suñu nasaraan fàtte suñu aada ak cosaan
ak kenn ñaamen
aada ak cosaan ak kenn ñaan topp lañu alxames bu jot juróomi waxtu ba juróom-ñaari waxtu fan la mooy amee si Gambian Talents TV Ibu la ak Baabu
na foro muso ngetelefo mbadingol be yalong kanun telu be yalong signol be yalong aninja wolf yalong ngetele kanu ala yalong ngetele kanu baby ngetele kanu ala yalong ngetele kanu babe gadi yatamiye akuyatamiye ngetele kanu ala yalong ngetele kanu wa hey, this your man himself Lixin Khan, the original frontline army. Right about now you are watching Gambian Talents TV.
kuy wut fu muy fanaan ak kuy wut ku ko wéttali xanaa delloo buntu gi warul la naa boole yaa Fatus Guest House tijjil na leen buntu bi ñu ngi leen fa am ak ñaari cabinet salle yu yàñña
amal leen li nga xamante ne mooy cabinet ak salle ñu ngi leen amal AC ak fan
salle bi nag lépp li ngeen soxla am na fa sofa yu nooy ñoo fa nekk TV bang fa cabinet boo dugga lal yu nooy leen fa amal nañ leen fa AC ak li nga xam ne moom mooy fan toilette yu set wicc amal nañ leen fa kitchen microwave fridge en room bu baax dama ne teranga day mut moo taxit yaa Fatus Guest House amal leen extra kitchen lépp lu ngeen bëgg a togg mun ngeen ko toggee si gas cooker bii nii
kuy xalam di si jaayu nag barke bi yaay borom amal ne li nga xamante ne mooy ndox ak courant 24/7 bu leen tiit bu leen ragal bu leen xoof ndax amal ne lii di CCTV caméra
seet si leen ñu si Farafenni gannaaw garage base bi Kawur highway
very clean every day am na cleaning service ratio bi amul fenn
yaa Fatus Guest House teranga àdduna bët kon nag seet si leen ñu Gambian Talents Promotion
Jaliba Mandi Corona muna muto nyaledi nkal jalolu nada ganyine badie animpana mo million jama wande pengoge kagolo bay golu kan nde jaliba felen ninjalolu nada ganyine senenda
Jali nene suso mandinka fankanta hanjawuya se fankanta yesi nyolu kanta minna fa fomu fankanto leti
We've already covered two thematic areas. Now we move to the third thematic area on ex-players engagement and management. Mr. Kamaso, the life of a footballer on the pitch is usually perspective. How can the Kamaso legislature ensure that when national team players in power, they are still treated
Since the team wrestling conference is clearly shown that we are more passionate about getting our experience engaged. And that's why we have our executive, Mr. Yusila, who is a former player. We're going to create a clear pathway for players who are playing for the national team. We will ensure that there are social security mechanisms in place and retirement packages for all these players. We understand some of these players, by the time they retire, will have had saved substantial amounts of money. But we want to transform the National Technical Training Center into a sports institute, where some of these players would be taken to train and learn some ideas and some skills that they can use to benefit themselves when they retire. Some of them could be fitness conditioners, some of them could be trainers. Together with the stakeholders, we want to bring in certain rules where maybe the third division or the second division would have at least half of the coaches become ex-players. And all these ex-players will have a fund that they can benefit from that can support them financially, so that when they retire, they have something that they can rely on to be able to sustain themselves financially, but not just to support them, but we'll give them skills training that can benefit them for life. FIFA has invented this Next 90, which we intend to use and bring down to the Gambia in our own format to ensure it benefits them. And a lot of them are going to be part of the national team setup with the social security mechanisms, as I said, and also retirement packages together with the government. All these players who've played for the national team would also be recognized and given OAP cards to attend all the matches so people who know they are and celebrate them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. Your second question on the ex-player engagement and management is, football can be dangerous. Sometimes footballers encounter injuries that end their careers as footballers, or they sometimes are faced with life-threatening illnesses. How can a Kamaso-led executive ensure that these players receive the necessary support they require and in time, in 90 seconds?
This is something the team Restore Confidence is very, very passionate about. First of all, the infrastructure has to be worked on because all these players play on terrible surfaces that cause most of these injuries. Notwithstanding, the team Restore Confidence, for the first time in the history of Gambian football, will introduce a medical fund where 7% of all resources that come to the GFF, whether it's from FIFA, CAF, or gate takings, would be put into this fund so that players who suffer career-threatening injuries wouldn't have to be roaming the streets scavenging for funds to be able to treat themselves. There'll be a specific fund for them that they can go and write so that they can access these funds to be able to treat themselves, and we will go with them all the way through. As we speak now, there are players who are roaming around looking for funding because they have injuries that have been neglected. So the medical fund and the players' welfare is something that, together with the Players Association and a group of qualified experts, will administer. So every player who's injured while at national duty now has a fund that they can go and tap resources from to be able to treat them. We will also ensure the playing surfaces that they play that cause most of these threatening injuries would be a thing of the past.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. You're mentioning funds, you're talking about cash. We all know when it comes to FIFA funds, it has to be based on projects. How will a Kamaso-led or raise these funds? Where are you going to get the money from in 45 seconds?
Transparency, basically. What FIFA does, they put a lot of funds there for you. Forward 2.0 was $6 million, $4 million for operational costs over the years, another $2 million for specific funds. They ask you to write a project. Once you're transparent with the project, they release the funds. FIFA has gone to the point where they've even created a program to train individuals who access these funds. So it is inexcusable for somebody to tell you getting these funds are difficult. So long as these projects are transparent and there's something that you're actually spending the funds on, FIFA will make these funds available. And Forward 3.0 now is giving you another $4 million that we can get these funds from. So it is not difficult so long as the projects are transparent and being used judiciously.
Mr. Kamaso, a lot of players who played at national level have passed on without recognition. How will a Kamaso-led executive ensure that the players receive the credit deserved and a place in the GFF Hall of Fame in 90 seconds?
First of all, what we intend to do is to ensure all the ex-players who've played for the national team have their database, take their information taken and put on a database. We're going to create a museum where all these players will be celebrated. By now, when you walk into the GFF, there should be a specific hall where you can see the pictures of all these individuals to show you that these people have actually played for Gambia. But if you walk into that building, there is no picture of any individual that you can see that will show you this person has played in a particular area. If our players are being celebrated in other countries, I wonder why we shouldn't be able to do that. What we are going to do is to ensure that there is an awards night every year. Although the GFF started this,
but it died down because nobody seemed to have had interest in it. We will ensure this continues because if the Players Association can take this up to ensure this works, the GFF should be at the forefront to ensure any individual who has ever played for the Gambia is recognized, certified, and given an OAP card that they can use to enter all league matches. Their names will be put on a Hall of Fame. When you enter into the GFF, there should be a specific place or the technical training center where all the players who have ever played for the national team are celebrated. And the most prominent ones, of course, would be at the forefront, so people know who are the players who have actually played for. Some of these kids still dream of being the next Biri Biri, the next Ibusila, the next Jato Sise, or even the next Musa Barros. But how is that done? There has to be something that they can look up to, and that is what we are going to bring.
Mr. Kamaso, during the break, we asked the delegates in the hall and members in the hall as well to send in their questions. We have a few questions here that we would like to ask you in 45 seconds. The first question we have is, how do you intend to work with allied associations and the Players Association, to be specific?
First of all, the Players Association needs to be given the power so they can be as legitimate as possible. We will tour the whole country and do a needs assessment with the clubs, ensure they all understand the role of the Players Association. They are not competing with the clubs per se. They are looking into the welfare of the players who they represent. We will give them the required funding, the required material, and do training programs for even the people who serve in that association to understand what their duties are, their roles are, not just create an association and allow them to go on like that. We'll build their capacities because there's funding from FIFA for all of this, so they know what areas they can work on. And this should not just be limited to the current as members who are in the association. There are other players who are abroad now who can still be part of this, and we will do this together with them.
Okay, quickly in 45 seconds as well, there's a second question which states, my question is about Lang Tombong's statement that the GFF staff work without being paid salaries. How can Kamaso confirm to us about the authenticity of the statement since he was a member of the executive?
I am not sure about that because I'm not responsible for paying staff salaries. But I don't think that statement is true because any staff who works for the GFF receives their salaries. If they don't, they have the labor department to go and take this up. But obviously, in order for us to restore confidence, I don't think we will be owing any individuals. But again, I don't think that is the situation now because the GFF spends over $1 million on salaries every month. So I'm not sure whoever that individual is. But again, I cannot speak on something that I'm not sure of. Being an executive member doesn't mean I understand or I know everything that happens there because I have a role to play. So I'm not in a position to answer that unless I know the particular individual and the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. That brings us to the end of the third thematic area on ex-players engagement and management. Now this moves us to the fourth thematic area, which is on good governance and transparency. Mr. Kamaso, in 90 seconds, the GFF over the years has been accused of poor governance, which includes low ethics, poor risk management, and poor compliance. Access to information and data concerning the GFF are very difficult to come by. How will the Kamaso-led executive ensure that good governance practices are put in place?
Good governance and administration are the bedrock of any successful institution. First of all, there's a not based on individuals that we just know. The communications department is key because we'll be able to tell the whole world what the GFF does. We are going to the whole world. That way we can gain the trust and confidence of the general public. The marketing department as well. This is a department that has to go out and start selling the ideas of the GFF. So with the legal department and compliance, the communications, the marketing department, these areas would be in a position to be able to get GFF, get that recognition from the general public so people know what we're doing. And as I said, be as accountable as possible because all our audited accounts will be made public, not just to the General Assembly where some of the delegates who come, with all due respect to them, some of them have little understanding of how these things work. We'll make our books open to the government. When you go to the GFF reception, our audited accounts will be pasted there so people understand how monies are spent and how monies are made by the GFF. All the funds that come to the GFF will be spent judiciously and open to each and every individual. So the right departments and the right units will be put in place to ensure this works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. While you were speaking about financial statements, it brings me to the second question about financial statements. In line with the constitution of GFF, financial statements should be provided to stakeholders at least 2 weeks before the AGM. How will the Kamaso-led executive ensure that this good governance practice is upheld and the delegates are informed and in time in 90 seconds?
First of all, I'm even against the GFF AGM being held in December. We'll bring the AGM earlier because when the books of accounts are audited from January, they held there till December. We'll bring the AGM down so people get to understand these things and digest them. We'll send them these documents a lot earlier, not just as per the constitution. And then the other part is the management letters that people should see are never presented at AGMs, because this is one thing that can show some of the queries. Because even the executive, never a time have we ever been presented audited accounts, the management letters at the GFF. We've made series of complaints and it's never produced. These are the issues. These are the things that can show us what the specific areas of concern are, because without the management letter, we wouldn't be able to. The normal budgets that are presented is, this is the amount of money that is made, this is the amount of money that is spent, this is what we intend to do the following year. After a long push and pull in the AGMs, people just let it die down, the budget is adopted, and people move on. But we will ensure that our AGMs are done in a manner where people who understand these things are invited. The club presidents and the general secretaries will attend, rather than having ball boys or kit managers coming to AGMs who have little understanding of these things, and it is so easy for them to adopt a budget that they don't understand. So we'll ensure that the capacities of all these individuals are built to understand what is being presented to them before they can accept and adopt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. You just mentioned that you want the top executive of these institutions to be present at AGMs. How will a Kamaso-led executive ensure that these delegates are trained on proper financial modes, mediums, and understand the running of football properly, rather than having anyone leading an association or an organization?
As I said, there's funding for that. If you can have auditors auditing your books, you should be able to have people, individuals who can train these clubs. And one thing that I want to ask all the clubs is to ensure the people who go for AGMs are individuals who actually understand what is being presented to them, not just anybody. The other thing we're going to do as Team Restore Confidence is to establish the individuals who actually own these clubs. Because sometimes you do not even understand the ownership of some of these clubs. And that is why maybe a particular individual might own 1 or 2 clubs and decides to send 2 different individuals who have no understanding of these budgets. So there'll be capacity building, as I said. We've had capacity building trainings for coaches and referees, and that is because there's a FIFA forward requirement. But administrators training has not been done. If there was, it was probably just 1 or 2. So most of these people don't even know these documents that are presented to them. There'll be funding for administrators, people who are responsible for the day-to-day communications for these clubs, people who handle these finances. Because if we set criteria for people who are going to own these clubs, by the time the league becomes professional, all these people are going to be contracted, and there'll be individuals who understand how to govern and how to run these clubs. So obviously there would be individuals who understand these things when they come to AGMs to be able to make the necessary queries, not just adopt budgets and say, I don't understand how these things work. Let us finish with this so I can go home.
All right, just to remind the general public and viewers and everyone in the hall that hence we have only one presidential candidate present, this has turned from a debate into a town hall. Mr. Kamaso, transparency is the heartbeat of any institution practicing good governance. The marriage between the government and the Football Federation provides little knowledge on where the work of the federation ends and where the work of the government begins. How can a Kamaso-led executive ensure that it does not use funds meant for other projects to cover up activities meant to be provided by the government? In 90 seconds.
Again, accountable governance. We will be as transparent as possible. If the government gives us money, we should be able to be open to them and tell us where we spend their money. If we use FIFA funds, we should be able to tell the stakeholders what those resources have been spent on. Even the funds FIFA provides, it is the Gambia Football Federation. It is not the Stakeholders Football Federation. These accounts will be open to every individual, even government. Any certified audit institution that wants to know what the GFF does can walk into the GFF and see these accounts on the GFF reception, so they are in a position to be able to establish how these funds are spent. there's not going to be any situation where there's going to be a government overlapping with with FIFA. No, the funds that FIFA provides are supposed to be funds that we can also show government that this is the amount of money that we're receiving from FIFA. That way, government would be in a position to give us funds. As we speak, government doesn't know how much money comes. So they wouldn't be in a position to be able to give you funds. If they see on social media or on the print media that GFF gets $6 million every year, they won't be giving you funds because probably the budget of the ministry for the whole 4 years is not even up to that. So you should be in a position to explain to government how much money you're getting and open your books to them. For people to tell you government interference of any sort is no, not it's at the level of elections, not on accounts. So that is something we will ensure it's done properly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. A final follow-up question in this fourth thematic area is, in 45 seconds, if you're elected to be the next president of the Football Federation, how will you ensure that officials of the Football Federation do not travel with substantial amount of cash that can attract theft, being lost, or mismanaged in 45 seconds?
I was gonna ask that you say when, because I feel I'm the only committed leader who's actually come to this debate today, so it should have been when, because government should give me the vote. The other thing I would say would be, as finance committee member, I've always advocated for us to use Visa cards to travel. This is something that has been advocated for. That is something that we were going to bring in, and the members of the finance committee that we are going to appoint would be seasoned financiers who would give the right advices, and will ensure the advices the finance committee gives are advices the federation would adopt, because the finance committee recommends and it is the executive that adopts. So the recommendations of the finance committee would be for us to use Visa cards to travel, or payments are made prior to travel, and that is exactly what we are going to do. All payments will be made by check.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso, for that clarification. Now we move to the fifth thematic area. Just to remind the delegates who have sent in their questions, will endeavor to ask these questions in due course. We had a gap due to the power outage, but we will get to your questions very soon as we exhaust the thematic areas. Now we move to the fifth thematic areas, which are the football pitches, infrastructure, projects, and management. Mr. Kamaso, in 2018, the GFF secured a funding of $1.6 million from FIFA for various projects of the Football Federation. Of this amount, 1,116,250, amounting to 53,580,000, taking the $48, was allocated to infrastructural development across the country. Up to date, the projects are incomplete. This happened under the leadership of a Kaba-led football federation, which, Mr. Kamaso, you were part of. How can a Kamaso-led executive assure the stakeholders that monies collected for projects see the projects through in 90 seconds?
First of all, from my records, I have over $65 million that has been spent on projects. What Team Restore Confidence would do would be money spent for the projects are actually spent on those projects. It is inexcusable for the GFF to come and tell you FIFA funds are difficult to get. They train people to access these funds. And what the Federation has been doing over the past years would be paying contractors who disappear with funds and they are not prosecuted. There'll be a legal department, as I said, that will ensure there's proper contracts that are signed with these contractors, and they will deliver as per the promises. Whatever monies that are meant for football would be spent on football. Any contractor who's ever collected GFF monies from FIFA and has not delivered would be prosecuted to ensure that they pay back these monies, because these are monies meant for the stakeholders. We will ensure that the right contracts are signed, the right contractors are assigned the job, and there's so much transparency as to how much is being spent, the duration of the project, when payments are being made, and everything that entails these projects. We will be as transparent and accountable as possible without any delinquency or any ambiguity. That is what we're going to ensure. Money spent for football and football projects will be spent on football projects under the Team Restore Confidence leadership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. Local football, also known as the Nawetan, has not been played in over 2 years due to poor infrastructure. The dreams of young boys and girls have been hanging in the balance. How will a Kamaso-led executive ensure that These talented young players don't have their dreams of being the next Adam Atamba, Babukar Gay, James Gomez, Rugi Juve, Ibrahim Dabo, or Musa Dabo, or Baro fade away.
First of all, the right infrastructure, the right structures in place, and then have a clear player pathway from that level. Because Nawetan centers are not under the GFF directly. But these Nawetans, for Team Restore Confidence, would be a scouting tournament. What we want to advocate for is for Nawetans to be played by kids that are 16, 17, and below, because it's the summer. That is when all these young players are on holidays. So with that, scouts in Europe can come and scout from these kids, and also the first and second, or even the third division clubs can scout these players. But again, there should be a clear pathway between the Nawetans and the third divisions. We'll have a holistic approach to this together with the Nawetan centers, because there's already Super Nawetan, which generates a lot of fund, which generates a lot of resources and attracts so many spectators. Why can the GFF not do that? It is because these people are able to stimulate interest from the people who support. Exactly what they're doing, we wouldn't hesitate to go and sit with them to pick from those ideas that they have and work together with them to ensure we give them the required funding and the required support so that they can succeed in whatever they're doing, and then have a clear pathway between the Nawetan and the third division or even the second division, where there'll probably be a tournament that these players can play to showcase their talents, increase the funding for the Nawetans as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. In 45 seconds, the upcountry region has far less football infrastructure compared to the Combos. This affects the development of football in these areas and that they are allegedly forgotten. How will a Kamaso-led executive ensure that infrastructural development is not only limited to the Greater Banjul area in 45 seconds?
We've promised all the regional football associations that we'll ensure there is a standard playable pitch in every region in our first term. We will ensure that we put pavilions there, but the first thing would be to ensure they have standard playable pitches. They'll get their funding, because some of these people that play in the regions, their leagues are left just like that. You'd be surprised that in a certain region, they don't even have a change board where the fourth official stands on the touchline and shouts the player's name to make changes, because these regions have been neglected. When was the last time the Federation even went there to do a needs assessment? We will support these regions because they are the nursery and the primary. Without a proper nursery and a proper primary, we cannot have a good high school. The second and third division will, the first division will suffer.
Mr. Kamaso, your final question for this round. The Gambia currently has its main ground, the Independence Stadium, banned by CAF due to its current status. The Gambian national football team was forced to play its home game in Senegal due to this ban. How can a Kamaso-led executive ensure that the Gambian national teams enjoy the liberty to play at home on his turf, having the fans cheer them on? In 90 seconds.
It is inexcusable, as I had said earlier on, for the Gambia to continue to play the international matches away. There is enough FIFA funding for us to be able to do this. And this is the fault of the GFF, because the GFF communicates with CAF. It is CAF that tells GFF what criteria they need for their stadium. The second vice president of the Gambia Football Federation is also the general manager of the Independence Stadium. And I think he should be the person who should explain why we are in this situation. What we are going to do is to ensure that the funds that are coming from FIFA, if we have to sit with government to spend in resources in the stadium, we would do that. But as I said, the GFF should be in a position to own its own stadium. If other countries like Liberia, Cape Verde, Sierra Leone are doing it, we should be able to. Up until 2 weeks ago, Cape Verde just inaugurated pitches from the FIFA forward. We should be able to do that. And now that we have $4 million available in Forward 3.0, by the time we get into office, we will sit with FIFA and ensure the right contractors are giving the contract. We don't even have to touch it. We will ensure it is a turnkey project where the funding will be given to the right contractors to come and give us a pitch which will be owned by the GFF. Because for far too long, GFF goes to all these regions and take their title deeds and yet fails to deliver any pitch to them. We are going to ensure those promises are delivered with the funding that we get from FIFA, because there's funding from FIFA to help every member association. So it is inexcusable that we do not have a stadium that we are playing now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamaso. This brings us to the close of the fifth thematic area. And at this point in time, we would invite you to give your closing statements in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Senghor, once again. The refusal of the GFF incumbent coming to this debate today clearly shows his total disregard for the stakeholders and the Gambians, because this is public office. We should be in a position to tell Gambians what we have for Gambian football. The team Restore Confidence wants to change that because we want to ensure we are as accountable and transparent as possible. Football touches the lives of everyone. To some it is a religion, to some it is a passion, to some it is a way of life. To these young players, it is their lives and the lives that they can transform for other people and the country. On the 27th of August, I ask all the stakeholders, let justice guide your actions, to give me your vote, because I am the future. I know what your problems are, and I know how to fix these problems, because when we go into office, it will be a thing of the past for us to be crying about substandard pitches, lack of funding, or players not having the necessary support. We're going to give medical fund to the players. We're engaging ex-players. Infrastructural development would be of international standard. Accountable governance. Constitutional reforms. We're bringing the women at the decision-making table. Corporate social responsibility, because football should be seen to give to where it crops from. We have all these programs the United Nations are doing. Female genital mutilation, gender-based violence, child labor. What could be a better way for them to sell these ideas than use football as a program to educate people? We are going to use a holistic approach and ensure that Gambians who are expert in the different areas are invited. Our mission is to stimulate interest and passion, to increase stakeholder participation so we can bring football on its doorstep to the benefit of every Gambian. We have managed to stimulate interest and passion. For us to bring football and its benefits to the doorstep of every Gambian, we need your votes on the 27th so we can complete that part of our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the delegates and members of the public here for adhering to the rules and only clapping at the end and at the beginning. We thank you very much. Once again, thank you all of you that have been following us online on all the various media partners. The CPD would like to thank all its sponsors. We have made history today. This is the first official GFF presidential debate, and we are proud to be here. And I believe everyone in this hall and watching online should feel proud of this moment, because this is a precedent that should be set. It's a precedent that is important for our governance in the Gambia. So on that note, I thank everyone that has been part of this journey of making sure that this 2022 GFF presidential debate came to life and happened live at the Kairaba Beach Hotel in Jama Hall. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night. My name is Ronald Senghor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ronald, and thank you very much, Mr. Sadibu Kamaso. This marks the end of the first ever GFF presidential debate. And before we end, Mr. Ronald, could you please join Kamaso for a group picture, please? Mr. Bakari, you can join as well. Hannah Foster and the NDI director as well. Lama Jallo from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Mr. Ronald, you can please wait for, yeah. You can take a group picture, please. The two of you, please. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us here. And that marks the end of the debate. And thank you for coming. Round of applause for Sadibou Kamaso, please.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonic's money transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonic's money transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
membe kerim babu wolom aka kenu nyameng niko aka kenu nyameng nunto adol be nyaadile parce que niamoy ko ado nen ciosano ka hadama dingole signify ite mu jumale ite bota jumale bala wol fanal bota jumale fanal bala
ñu ne lan dekkil sa ada ak sa ciosan ak ki ñu ñami num nak amé dem
babu ko ne dinni ngo jibe e ko akalon ko yemmen fo
xama sa ada sa ciosan motax Gambian Talents TV ak Ibu ak Bab ñu tok ñu ne il faut ñu dunda sun ada ak sun ciosan
tunto alfal kala dimbayali ke kulu no nyaadile ke kulu nyaadile fo butero lo bang fodum e ka dumuro le dila bang fo ka mum fel le dila ñun programme le biwo be sene andila
kon kenn ku nekk bo buké xam sa ada sa ciosan fu nga bayé ko sama fu nga bayé ko
nunto alfalu ila sunkurundi woni ke pare nyaadile ila dum fengol fanal be nyaadile ko mun dum fen sifal le fanal dum ñun programme le fanal be witandila
neena lan ku watti sa and